All right, welcome to our first ITS seminar of this academic year. Today you're going to get to hear from lots of folks that run centers and programs here at ITS. I'm going to start you off. I'm Alicia Kendall. I'm the newly minted director of ITS. And I'm going to give you just an overview, a little bit about ITS, and then it's really going to be an invitation for everyone else to come up and tell you more about the details. So some of you probably know this already or have even seen slides like this before, but we are the world's premier institute dedicated to sustainable transportation, certainly in the US and probably in the world. We were founded 34 years ago by our founding director who just retired this year, Dan Sperling. And we are very large relative to just about any other institute on campus. And we are the largest among other UC ITSs as well, with 50 academic and faculty researchers and other researchers. Graduate students, we have more than about 100 affiliated graduate students, as well as having our TTP students who are housed right here in ITS, but we also have students from civil engineering who take the seminar, as well as students from all across campus, from geography, from agricultural resource economics, from environmental science and policy programs. And so we are a big tent for folks dedicated to transportation. We generate lots of publications every year, and we have lots of partnerships with outside entities, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of those. We also have a number of centers that are dedicated to other, that are international, so our China, Europe, and India. We also have a large program dedicated to the Global South as well, and you'll see those in a minute. I like to remind people who are new to ITS that we are really a university dedicated to applied research, and ITS is really kind of emblematic of that dedication, as well as we are the land grant university in California, which means that we are dedicated to service to our state. And I think you'll see that reflected in lots of our research programs, but also in a philosophy that we're supposed to serve the public. We're not here for we're here to serve the public good, and that may be here in the state of California or around the world. We're a campus that has a lot of interdisciplinary graduate programs, and it's part of our DNA to train graduate students in those programs. And we have a very student-led campus with respect to even our operations. Yeah, don't get scared of the student drivers driving the buses. They have a good track record so far. All right, a little bit about the institute itself. I didn't know much about ITS when I arrived here. I came here a long time ago, 2007, as an assistant professor. I knew about some research coming out of ITS, but I didn't understand how it connected to our campus or the University of California. So the University of California has 4 ITSs, Davis, Berkeley, Irvine, and Los Angeles. And we collaborate across all the 4 ITS campuses. For example, sometimes we'll get sort of funding that has a purpose from the legislature that asks the UC ITSs to do specific research to meet some demand from the state in terms of what they're looking for. And so we collaborate across all campuses when we do that kind of work. We also have friends at those campuses. Some of our unique strengths, we do lots of engagement, and we have engagement with stakeholders that are non-academic as well as other researchers. And this is important for you guys as students who are here because it provides experiences that are not academic but professional in nature that can help you grow contacts and understanding of the professional world that you're going to step into when you're done here. Because we're interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, we're able to actually answer questions that other places that are really bounded by discipline aren't able to answer, and that's really powerful. And we do have this focus on translating our research to policy and practice that you don't find in every kind of graduate program or research institute. And this is, for us, I think our timeline is quick sometimes, within a year we might see work that we're doing showing up in policies or regulations or practices in the field. Some of our stakeholders that are important, we have stakeholders in the industry. You might know we have like corporate sponsors as well as other industrial stakeholders. We obviously have partnerships across different academic institutions beyond just the UCITS campuses. We have relationships with NGOs, community-based organizations, and of course governments. We used to have quite a few sponsors at the federal level, which aren't there anymore, but we still have sponsors at the state level. And hopefully in the future, we'll go back to federal stakeholders as well. ITS Davis right here is actually a really complicated, and this is not complete, it never is. Every time I ask someone for this table, or this figure, and I get it, I know there's something missing from it. But we have lots of different groups and programs and centers who are operating here within ITS. Some of these even overlap in terms of people and everything else. And you're going to hear from a bunch of folks about these centers today. But in terms of the scope of what we tackle, I think you'll see that the theme here is sustainability, but it's everything from freight to to cycling to road ecology, right? It's a very big tent for sustainability. And of course, as I pointed out, we have some international programs and centers as well. All right, I strongly encourage you guys, you're gonna hear from those centers. I'm not gonna say anything more. Everyone else who's from those centers can speak better to them. But there are lots of important, or there are lots of opportunities for you guys to plug in to events and other kinds of things happening at ITS. And so I strongly encourage you to do it. In fact, one of the best things you guys do is sit in this room for seminars, because you're gonna hear from lots of people, not just researchers, but from folks in industry and government and NGOs. You're gonna hear from lots of different folks over the time that you're here, and that's really important. And we publish so much. So we often, sometimes you'll get an alert if you're part of our mailing list about a new report or something that's coming out. But I strongly encourage you, if you are sitting here and get interested in something you hear about, look through our ITS publications and read about what what folks are working on, because that can be a good guide for what's going to come next for you guys, meaning you can learn about the research you might want to do or professional work you want to do. I kind of rush through things. I'm happy to take one or two questions if anyone wants clarification on anything. Is Bailey in the room? Let's see. No. Okay. You were going to hear a little bit from our principals of community committee.
Claire's gonna do at the end after she.
Oh, okay, sorry about that, I have a bit meeting. Okay, so I'm done then. And I'm gonna hit it off.
Yes. Okay, before we get to the research centers, I should know all of you should know me. I'm Jesus Barajas, I'm the chair of the Transportation Technology and Policy Graduate Group, so it's great to see you all again. I am not your instructor of record for the seminar series, but I'm filling in for Samaya, so I can tell you about the details of how the course and the expectations work. And then starting next week, we have a good slate of guest speakers coming. It's gonna look a little bit different than it did in past years. We used to be able to host a lunch and have extensive time for graduate students. We don't have that money anymore. So we're hoping to do more brown bag sessions when we can, when the speakers are able to stay. So there'll still be some opportunities for engagement. Okay, for those of you who are enrolled in the course, this should look familiar to those who were in the course last year, and then for those who are new this year. You're expected to be here in person for the seminars. I think all the seminars are in person this year, or all the speakers will be in person. It might be one has to come. But we will take attendance. That's part of the grade. This is a satisfactory, unsatisfactory course. So please be here in person. For at least 7 of the 8 seminars, you'll submit 3 questions which are available in Canvas. Is everyone able to access the Canvas site? Yes. Okay, great. And so make sure you submit those questions by Canvas by the Monday 5 p.m. following the seminar. And then if you cannot be here for some reason, you've told Samaya that you can't be here because of some good excuse. Instead, you'll submit a 750 word essay to make up for that time that you can't be here, but you still have to be here for 7 of the 8 seminars. We have, as Melissa said, we have speakers from academia, we have speakers from government on the list. So, look up in advance who they are, what kind of research they've done, come with questions, be prepared to engage with the speakers. They're taking their time out to spend their time with you, so show them some courtesy as well. And then this is an opportunity for you to learn much more about transportation from people outside of ITS. We spend a lot of time and energy to get folks here who can talk to you about their expertise in transportation. So make sure you take advantage of the time that you're able to spend with them. Are there any questions about the course or course logistics? Okay, that's enough for me. And I'm going to turn it over to Susie to start our Center Director presentations.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I know most of you, but maybe not all of you. So I'm Susie Pike. I'm the director of our Transit Research Center. And then fortunately, about 4 years ago, I was joined by our co-director, Professor Carrie Watkins. She's not here today, but together we've been able to kind of grow the activities that we do in the Transit Research Center. And so I'll just talk about a few of the things that we do, certainly not comprehensive, so I'll tell you how to learn more. These are mostly pictures from one of our symposia a few years ago, and then just a little info kind of we started in 2021, and we, like Alyssa mentioned, we really do a lot of work together with transit agencies, and much of our work is applied translating to practice, right? Trying to work through real world solutions for transit agencies and providers. And then I'll talk more about kind of what's in the pictures. These are some of our current and recent research topics. We've been working a lot on these topics of mobility of care and women's use of transit and how that might differ from men's use of transit. Unfortunately, we have not been super successful this year in getting funding on those topics, which might not be surprising, but nonetheless, we're trying to plow ahead and work on that. I do a lot of work on open loop payments in transit, so thinking about both the challenges and benefits that can be experienced by transit agencies in terms of cost efficiencies and different parts of the kind of payment processing system, as well as the experiences of riders. I just published a paper looking at the impacts of open loop systems on unbanked travelers and people who may prefer to use cash, and kind of what do these more digital centric payment systems mean for them. So generally trying to look at a lot of these questions from both of those perspectives, from the transit agency side as well as the traveler side. Okay, quick question.
So
Trying not to take too much time.
what separates microtransit from regular transit, just like in a quick summary?
Microtransit from regular transit. Regular transit, I think you mean fixed route transit that operates on a particular line or route. Whereas microtransit is more flexible. It sometimes is door to door or kind of location to location, but happy to chat more about it kind of offline outside of.
Awesome. Okay.
Let's see, some other things that we have done a bunch of work recently on that topic, microtransit. Looking at free transit programs specifically for youth has been an area that we've been working on. And then we've connected a bit, partly because of Carrie's overlap in terms of transit and biking and micromobility, but and then the micromobility folks also working on kind of ways to link to public transit. So we've been kind of connected more literally, topically on that integration. Well, okay. So one of the main ways to get involved with the Transit Research Center is to participate in the Transit Lab. We've been meeting every Friday, and we will meet today. right after seminar, there's a conference room, kind of kitty corner to this building, in the western, always get the acronym mixed up, the WCEC, which is across the street over there. In Transit Lab, we share our current work, we get feedback on presentations, or we go through each of their surveys and help kind of fine tune them before we implement them. We sometimes lead workshops, and I know Jesus was mentioning that we don't have as many opportunities to meet with our seminar speakers before seminar, but sometimes, especially when they're relevant to transit, we invite our guest speakers to also come and join us there to have a little more of an informal discussion with our transit lab. So all of that stuff, these are some of our recent visitors. And then, yeah, so this is where we meet for Transit Lab, and then we've been holding an annual Transit Research Symposium every spring. This year will be our 5th anniversary, so we're hoping to make it a little bit of a bigger event. All right, thanks for your time, everyone. I think Dylan is next.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dylan Fitchpulse. I run the Bicycle Plus Research Collaborative. So like Susie's Transit Center, our center focuses on walking, biking, scooting, anything that could fit a bike lane. We're interested in it. We kind of co-direct this. Susan used to be involved. She's less involved now, but Carrie is kind of spanning both the bike research and the transit research. So she's heavily involved in what we do. Yeah, we cover a lot of different themes related to these types of modes, from equity, car use reduction, and safety. And then there's a lot of different topical expertise around the campus. Everything from disciplines in Department of Design to engineering and even environmental science. There's a lot of people. I haven't updated these pictures in a while, so I'm probably missing some folks. And some of these folks will span multiple centers, as Alyssa mentioned. So if you're doing bike, walking, or scooting, or any of that kind of research, you let me know so that I can showcase your research on our website. We have a list of everything that's ever been published from UC Davis going back to the 70s, when there were some early studies of bike mechanics and how to operate a bicycle. So some active projects. Oh, I should say, like Susie mentioned, for the Transit Lab, we have a lab meeting from 9 to 10 on Tuesdays right here. If you're interested, let me know. I'll get you on our email list. And we've got some active projects that we'll probably be discussing this quarter. E-bike incentive evaluation. If you're not familiar, California has this $10+ million voucher program for e-bikes. We're studying that. We're studying bike theft. We're studying the use of computer vision for bicycling and pedestrian monitoring and safety. We have a pricing study on micromobility, lots of other stuff going on. Okay, now pivoting to another center called the Active Transportation Resource Center. This is not like most of the centers that you're going to hear about today. This is not a research center. It's a kind of research to practice, practice to research center. It's run by Michelle Lieberman, who works from Orange County. She's a UC Davis staff member, but works 100% remote. And Bicycling Plus coordinates with the ATRC regularly. Carrie and I talk to Michelle weekly. And the idea is that Michelle's taking all the information that's available out there in the world about how to do bike and ped planning better, disseminate it to practitioners in California as a part of a contract through Caltrans and the CTC. And we're trying to help strengthen that through the research we do at Bicycle Plus. So if you ever see this acronym ATRC thrown around, that's what Michelle is doing. And if you're interested in getting involved, come to Bike Plus or let me know and I can connect you with Michelle. It's really great to see things that we do end up right on this website and have practitioners right away. So that's the whole goal, is to try to bridge what we do for research, put it into practice. Oh, and then just one more reminder, as Alyssa mentioned, our kind of history. we have a really fascinating history of bicycle culture at UC Davis. We were doing parking protected bike lanes in the 70s, in case you didn't know. And we've had bike scholarships since the 70s as well. So if you're interested in the history, please come talk to me. There's not a lot of research on it, and we have so many cool archives at the library that no one has ever dug into. So anyway, thank you very much. Yep.
Hey everybody, Patrick, I'm a postdoc with the Three Revolutions Future Mobility Program, and today I'll be going over what we do as a center and the kind of research that we work on. So first, our director Giovanni Cicciella and our co-director Zhongsung Lee. And the research we work on kind of centers on understanding how the concept of the three transportation revolution, which are automation, electrification, and sharing, affect travel behavior, which includes kind of how people travel, where they travel, why they travel, how often they travel. And as you can see from our org chart, we tend to collaborate quite a bit. There's like a dozen people on the side of the chart, and we're the postdocs and the current students. So to dig into the types of research that we do, recently we've completed a few projects that have looked at things like how the pandemic may have resulted in long-term changes in travel behavior. We're currently just wrapping up a project that is trying to see how we can encourage rideshare drivers to switch to electric vehicles to try to address some of the emissions impacts of services like Uber. We've also worked on studies on car dependence in Los Angeles, and we are currently completing a white paper for the California DOT or Caltrans on the potential future of mobility. And the research we tend to do at 3R is centered around kind of three guiding ideas or principles. The first is looking at how new technologies, in our case, that often means shared mobility, but that can also be things like remote work and online shopping, and looking at the potential for those kinds of services, technologies to affect how people travel. The second point is to look at how, given that these services and these technologies are available in people's lives, how are they incorporated into their daily schedules? You know, do you use Uber to get to work, or do you only use it to get home from a bar? If you work from home, does that mean you're spending time, you know, going to the gym instead of having to commute? Things of that nature. And then the real big picture stuff that we try to look at is, given that these services are available and these technologies are being used, what implications does that have for kind of the bigger picture in terms of, you know, equity or emissions or congestion, where let's say if we have automated vehicles, the removal of kind of the inconvenience of driving might cause you to travel by car more rather than bike. So we try to answer these kinds of questions. So just to give you a brief overview of the project we're currently working on, there are quite a few. As I mentioned, we're looking at how remote work and online shopping could affect how people travel. We've been doing more recently some work on robotaxi demand, so like Waymos and things like that in San Francisco, to see how the number of trips that start and end in a census tract kind of vary based on the attributes of that census tract. We've also looked at trying to conduct a pilot test of new ways to measure vehicle miles traveled, which, to put it in plain language, essentially reflects how much people travel, and seeing whether we could exploit new technologies, in this case specifically WhatsApp, to try to get a more accurate picture of how much people are driving. We've also looked at potential for micromobility solutions, so like cargo e-bikes, to try to decarbonize last mile deliveries, particularly in urban areas. And big picture, the kind of guiding principles for our center are looking at how new technologies can affect how people travel. Can it make it easier for them to travel in some cases? And what implications does that have for, in big picture terms, of equity and emissions? So we don't have a weekly meeting. Oh, sorry, good.
So I know I was curious, is advanced air mobility, is it somewhere between flying cars and automated helicopters? I'm curious what that is.
Yeah, to me, it's an automated helicopter, more or less. But I'm also a bit of a skeptic, so I'm not maybe the best person to talk to that point.
Drones.
Yeah, with drones, basically automated drones that are electric, I think is the main idea.
They don't have to be drones. Sorry, we don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
Maybe this is a better topic for a seminar.
Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
so we don't have a weekly meeting like some of the other centers, but we do organize an annual workshop where we invite people from industry and academia to kind of show off our research and try to identify new ways, new avenues for collaboration. If you are interested in getting involved or the work that we do, we're holding a workshop in November, so a month and a half or so from now. And we're also part of the Fall Symposium that is being organized by the Steps Plus program. So if you are interested in getting involved with us or learning more about what we do, feel free to check out our website, and otherwise feel free to email us. Yeah, thank you.
The most important button when you present slides is this one. Control B. You can actually turn it off in the middle of a presentation. So 5 minutes without slides. I'm Gil Giltal. I'm the director of the Electric Vehicle Research Center, just across the corner, the building over there, if you haven't been there yet. So my first ask is just come and visit us. So let me start by asking you a question. I know that you're in a great phase in life that you don't have to have a car. You can bike, you can have everything, but how many of you believe that between now and 20, 30 years from now, you will be able to live your life without owning a car or your household owning a car? Okay, about 3 or 4 of you. I hope that more of us will be able to live without owning a car, but most of us will have to have one. We like to or not, that's kind of where we live. How many of you wants this car to be an electric? Okay, yeah, if we already have to have one, we want it to be electric. So that's what the Electric Vehicle Research Center is all about. We strongly believe that climate change is for real, unlike some weird things happening around. And we already strongly believe, based on the evidence we have, that electric transportation is the most effective single measure to reduce greenhouse gases from transportation. It's not that we don't need many, many other things, but electrifying our cars, our trucks is the most effective way of doing it. So what we are studying at the EV Research Center is how to make it happen. It's not if, but how. What are the barriers? What are the opportunities? What are the needs? And we are a very diverse group. Some of us mostly work on behavior. Who buy, why they buy, how they will drive it, why they're selecting to drive this car, not that, when do they charge their cars, and so on. Some of us looking more systematic, like from energy and systems of optimizing charging systems, optimizing the vehicle performance, and looking on business models of the charging infrastructure. And some are looking at light duty, some looking a little bit different type of vehicles. And we work on all these questions on how to make electric transportation happening. Policy, behavior, business, modeling, and so on. Usually the group is Professor Alan Jen, that you probably have met more than once in the last week. Dr. Scott Hardman, myself, Gil Tal, amazing group of postdocs that works from different types, economics and others that work with us, and the graduate students, and we work in teams. So I will not go into all the different projects and details that what we are doing today, which is mostly working for the state of California, the California Energy Commission about infrastructure, ARB about policy, Caltrans. We used to work for the federal government, working with car companies, working with utilities and everyone else to create applied research. So that's what we are doing. But what I would like you to do, if you're interested, is visit us physically, sign up for our mailing list that will connect you to our center meetings, webinars, and research opportunities. And the most important thing, there are a couple of people here in the room that are part of the center. If you can raise your hands, and there are your peers. We have at least 6. Is it 3? Troy and Jace is, come on. And well, JC knows about these things, many of them more than I know, because he's kind of like have this dual role of being your pure students and someone who is in the field for many, many years. So just talk with them about what we're doing, about opportunities, and let's start a discussion. And if you're looking for opportunities, just stick around. It's a little bit different than previous years. And meet with us and come and see what we are doing. And I hope that we'll be able to find opportunities for you at the center. I think I have time for half a question. If anyone have one, if not, we can. Great, thanks.
Thank you. Welcome to ITS seminar. I'm Yan Xing. I'm the program manager at China Center for Energy and Transportation. So our director, Yunshi Wang, is now in China to join a conference. So I'm here on behalf of him. But it's so wonderful today to see so many new students. Maybe there's some returning students here today. So I'd love to introduce our center to you, giving you a sense of the work, what we are doing, and how it connects to the wide range of transportation research here, I guess. Okay. So one of our main tasks is to build international connection in the US and China. So you can say, on one hand, we invite the Chinese officials, researchers, experts to visit US to share their perspectives. Here is an example. So we invited Dr. Li, who is the leading experts on the battery swapping technology in China. So we organized and co-hosted the California Battery Swap Truck Forum last year. And where he gave a speech there to share his knowledge and also to share the experiences of battery swapping technology development in China. And another example is the most recent study tour organized by our center for China Ministry of Ecology and Environment. So this is the delegation here, and we help them to talk with the former and the current chair of CARB, and also the secretary for EPA. We also help them organize the trips to visit the air quality management districts of Sacramento Bay Area and the South Coast. So on the other hand, we also help bring the US counterparts out to China. So last March, I think, yeah. So the California Secretary for EPA, Garcia, and also California Transportation Secretary Omi Shekin. This slide. So and also some representatives from California agencies and ports were invited to visit China. I think Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Hainan. So these pictures are one of their trips to visit the battery swap station. And you can see this is the former CEC Commissioner Patty. She had a chance to meet with Wang Gang, the former Minister of China Ministry of Technology. She is also known as the father of the China EVs because she initiated the China NEV development program in China. Yeah. So these are activities we organized. So through this exchange, we help foster the dialogue, the collaboration, and also mutual learning between the two countries. So in addition to these international activities, we also conduct research. Most research focused on the transportation developments in China. For example, we conducted research on NEV market. And also we explored the total cost of ownership of the battery swapping trucks in China. Including in addition to to this research, we also team up with other centers at ITS. For example, we worked with the Lu's team on projection of China future vehicle fleets, energy consumptions, and also the CO2 emissions. So they just left. We collaborated with Susie's transit research center on projects of macro transit in the Sacramento area. So, and also other research are going on now. So if you are interested in that, I'd love to share maybe after the meeting. Maybe I just stop here and if you are interested in any China transporting issues and you have research ideas or you want to do volunteer works, you are welcome to reach out to us. We'd love to set up time to have a discussion with you about maybe the future work mobility. I think that's it. Do you have any questions for me? If no, maybe I hope you have a great academic year. I can say this. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's you, Miguel. I think.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miguel Jatter. I'm the co-director of the Sustainable Freight Research Program with Blue Fulton. And we have also an honorary co-director, Marshall Miller, that he just retired and still visiting us.
When people retire here, we don't really let them retire. They just stop getting paid.
How kind of you.
So at the center, we do a lot of type of research, but our two main topics that work in parallel and then we converge are first, we like to identify how the current better technologies, greener technologies, zero emission technologies, or fuels are able to function in a system in which companies need to operate the movement of cargo and goods. I've heard that a few other centers with which we collaborate also work in some of these topics. And then in parallel, we also want to understand how can we modify, how can we update the operations and the type of activities that companies do to take advantage of the technologies that are available today. We do projects that span the next hour all the way to the next 50 years with respect to decarbonization of the freight system, as well as the impact on local communities. So we cover both. These are examples of projects that we are working on right now. So as you can see, there is a big variability in terms of what we do. A lot of emphasis on analysis and development of policies related to improving freight movement, freight operations, and freight system in general. We look at the vehicles, we look at the fuels, we also look at the supporting infrastructure, such as fueling station, the location and network of hydrogen. We also look at charging, different technologies that can be used for electrifying the freight system. Again, from the large semi-trailers to the small cargo bags, anything that can move cargo or people or both, where we look at shared mobility and we can move, again, two of the type of goods in this case. We look into how can we improve the system for the safety of the people that are operating the system, as well as the communities, because the impacts are pretty varied. Freight is the economy in motion. Anything that we do to improve it will have pretty good consequences. But as if you can imagine, a lot of the policies out there are pretty punitive on freight operators. So there's always a dilemma. How can we improve the system, even though that every time we make it more difficult to operate or to transport cargo, everybody's gonna feel it. And that expands to anything that you're looking in the news today with respect to that tariffs, to respect to equity. How can we make it better and at the same time mitigate the unintended consequences of the movement? There is no way that we can live without the freight system. Everything that you see here was moved by the freight system, by a truck or a cargo bike. And if not, life cannot go on. And everything with respect to industrial and manufacturing require the freight system. And if you're at home, anything that is in your refrigerator was using the freight system. Even when you went to the supermarket, and drove your bike from the supermarket to your house, you are part of the freight system. So that's what we do. We analyze the system in general, from the equity, the social, the economic, the resilience. And this is what we are working right now in the center. So welcome to join us. And if you have any questions, I think I have 1 or 2 minutes. Or maybe less.
So I assume that your research mainly focuses on road vehicles based on what you're talking about in rail and other stuff, somebody else's department.
Yeah, so we're heavily focused on the road transport. We do air aviation, mainly on the fuel side. We have done a little bit of mode shift from either road to water or road to rail. And we have also done a little bit of rail infrastructure analysis. But I will say most of what we do is over the road transport. And in the US and in many other countries, at least in the US, about 77% of everything that is moved by trucks. And then it's still a predominant mode of transport. But we have done multimodal analysis. Okay, thank you.
Do we have that pointer? Okay, so I'm his co-director for Sustainable Freight. I'm Lou Fulton. I'm also a co-director for another center, Energy Futures. But so one key point up front is that these centers do all work together. It's all dotted lines between them, so we have some common projects. And on the question of rail, first of all, on rail, we're working on a hydrogen rail project right now. It's on the Energy Future side, but it definitely relates to freight as well. We also had a meeting yesterday between the freight folks and the electric vehicle folks on a project about electrification of agricultural vehicles. So, there's lots of good connections here, and you can start working with one group and you can end up with another group or whatever it is. But the focus of Energy Futures, of course, is energy in the transportation system. And we do work particularly closely with the Freight Center, partly because I'm involved with both, but it makes sense to do that because a lot of the questions on the freight side are energy questions. And so the Energy Futures group thinks about energy in trucking, but it thinks about energy in rail, it thinks about energy in cars. And since we do have our electric vehicle center really focused on electric vehicles, especially light duty electric vehicles, we tend to try to fill in and work with them, and especially when we're doing comparisons, but thinking about other kinds of energy sources and pathways that matter. So that would include, and I'm sure it really shows up on this slide, but things like low carbon liquid fuels, which typically we think of as biofuels, and there's a million different kinds of biofuels. There's also e-fuels, electrically derived fuels where you might capture carbon and build up liquid fuels. There's hydrogen. Hydrogen could be bio-derived or e-derived. And there's, what else? There's things like ammonia and methanol, which are very promising fuels for ships that can be made, either electrically or from bio components, so they could be low carbon. And yeah, so we look at all that kind of different stuff, but then when we look at it, we think about usually longer term transitions. So we do typically go out to 2050 to try to understand what do we think the transportation energy system is going to look like in 2050? What does it need to look like? So there's always like this kind of business as usual, where's it going? And then there's the normative, where do we think it needs to go? Often it's about trying to get to a carbon neutral system, which is really going to be challenging, but that makes our job interesting. So we do a lot of modeling of the future, and some of it you might call backcasting from a future point. Some of it's forecasting in terms of where we're going. We do other kinds of supportive analysis like technology comparisons now and in the future. We almost never are that concerned about what technologies look like and cost right now. We're very concerned about what they look like and cost in 5 or 10 years, because that's where we're going. And something could be expensive now, but we have reason to believe that we can get to a much more cost-effective point. And the question is how to do it. We do a lot of work in California, and I don't think I put in the slide that's got a list of projects, but one very interesting project. Oh, I didn't mention my co-director on this one. It's it's not on here for some reason. It's Colin right there, Colin Murphy. He's both the co-director of Energy Futures and he leads our low carbon fuels work within Energy Futures. And he is now going to begin working with the California Energy Commission on a project to look at, as we move away from oil, from petroleum fuels in our transportation system in California, what's going to happen to that oil? And we already have had 2 oil companies announce that they're going to close refineries in California. And there's 2 other refineries, this is out of like 11 refineries, 2 others that are being converted to produce biofuels, basically like renewable diesel, could be biojet. But there's now a little bit of concern of what if they close refineries faster than we can replace that with the low carbon fuels that the state is after. So he will lead a very important project over the next couple of years in cooperation with the state and funded by the state to look at that question. So I think that's an interesting example of the kinds of projects we do. We do a lot of hydrogen work. We're part of the California, we're connected to the California Hydrogen Hub called ARCHES, and we do a lot of supporting analysis for ARCHES. And that is also very interesting politically because there's a huge amount of funding that's expected to come from the federal government to support 7 hubs around the country. California is one of them. It hasn't been canceled, but we're hanging by a thread and we're hoping the state can fill in a lot of that funding, or some of that funding anyway, even if the federal money gets canceled. But that keeps that interesting, so I've been involved in that. That's one of the areas I work. Then I'll go back to this one. We're doing more international modeling, and I think we forgot to get slides in for another center that I forgot I was supposed to present on, so I'll just segue. So we're doing state level modeling, US level modeling, and more global modeling of transportation and energy systems. And one of our sister centers is called ETERC. It's the European Transportation Energy Research Center. And a former colleague of mine, we both used to work at the International Energy Agency in Paris, got the idea to start this center a few years ago, and Dan Sperling got very involved and we started it. And so now we've got about 4 or 5 researchers in Europe working on these same questions from a European perspective, energy, freight, 3 revolutions type stuff, electric vehicle type stuff. So there's it's kind of like the China Center. It's a good opportunity for outreach regionally from the work we do. And they're going gangbusters in Europe. They're getting a lot of funding and they're doing a lot of European focused transportation energy projects. And they're also a little bit involved even more broadly than Europe. And I'll let my colleague Aditya Ramji talk more about other international work that we're doing. But that international push now and a lot of the modeling that we do is becoming more and more important. So if people are interested in international work, especially energy type modeling, then come talk to me. The cornerstone of that, will be the last thing I say, is a new global transportation energy model. Alyssa's involved, others here are involved. But they're the ones who are building that model in Paris. And it's basically a global model of transportation across most modes. We're going to eventually add shipping and air. We don't have that yet. And it's also got a lot of regions. So it characterizes transportation in China, India, Africa, all over the world. It's about 30 regions. And once you project out the amount of transportation and the energy demand associated with it for different scenarios, you can do a lot of interesting things with that projection. And the thing we focused on this year that Aditya and Alyssa have been very involved in is what are the implications for critical minerals? Let's say if it's an electric vehicle kind of scenario, you need a lot of batteries. What are the battery chemistries going to look like? What does it mean for minerals? What does it mean for where they come from? What does it mean from a geopolitical point of view? So it's fascinating stuff, but I think Aditya will tell you more about that. So that's kind of stuff we're involved in and we're connecting to everybody. And I look forward to talking to people. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wang Dongwu. Thanks for the opportunity to say a couple of words about our center. I know what you think, payment, research.
So yeah, if you hear through all this, different centers, you might feel like it's a little awkward. We are the old school people among these all these different centers. So exactly how do we do research? In a nutshell, we build test track and we destroy them. And I have proof of that. So this is you can see this is our one big family. We have professors, students, and technicians. And then this was last summer, we were trying to, we were getting ready to build a long test track there for our payment research. So this is full scale. And we have, if you look closely, I don't know if this works, but this look closer, it's our big toy that we use to destroy the payment. And then we, of course, will learn on that. So if you are kind of people that likes to destroy things, sorry, I meant to say build things. Like to build things, welcome to join our big family. And this is for so when we build things, of course, we look at different things for recycling, for sustainability, but they come different kind of materials. That's a big focus of our research. And so this summer, this in fact was just a couple of weeks ago, we were building a little test bed for concrete payments. And you can see the concrete truck there, for those who know. So we do all kinds of materials. In this case, we were looking at many different kinds of materials that were, for example, bio material, source of materials to help build a payment, make them more sustainable and more efficient. And we also have a lot of data because the other way to get data is actually look at the road that we already have for whole California. So basically for every inch of the road, we do the payment condition survey every 2 years. We used to do it once a year, but realize it's too much data for us to handle. So we need some big brains to help us sort through the data. And if you just look at this chart, you can see each dot is representing hundreds, thousands of miles of data in summary, aggregated data. So if you don't remember anything that I said today, just remember at Payment Research, we do big test track. We use big toys and we have big data for everyone to play with. Maybe build an AI model or one or two. So if you still have questions, find these two professors, ask them, or you can ask me right now if you have any. Otherwise, welcome to join us and build a sustainable future, starting with payments.
So do you have any smaller vehicles you use for when you have a certain road that's meant to be used maybe by like a massive amount of pedestrians or lighter vehicles as compared to something that would be used on a semi-truck route, or is that just?
Oh, you mean for the testing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a giant, so it's simulating one side of the truck.
Huh.
Welcome to come visit us. You can see how it works. Exactly, it's running right now. So we have that wheel just go back and forth, applying very heavy loads. We call it accelerated payment testing. So you can simulate the lifetime of a payment in about a couple of months, sometimes in about a week. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Molly Cohen-Biagostino. I lead the Mobility Science, Automation and Inclusion Center with my colleague Junshan Zhang, who is a professor at ECE at the Electrical and Computer Science Engineering. So we do some fun stuff. Junshan leads a lab that is over on the other side of the street here next to the EV Center, where they don't smash pavement, but they do have a couple cool robotic devices, and they do some interesting simulated studies too. So we have both a lab and we have the policy side or the social science research side that I lead. So I'm representing both of us, so please bear with me. Because, but we take this transformational approach to develop this safe field of sustainable mobility. So we're trying to advance this new field of mobility science, right? This is this idea that you can integrate safety, safe systems approach, AI, political science, law, behavioral science, everything. We're just throwing all of this at these problems. And so the policy research that I lead is mostly regarding public policy analysis, where we think about best practices for regulatory and legal analyses. We think about how to approach stakeholder responses and prioritization. We've interviewed many cities who have autonomous vehicles or use different types of innovations. We also look at, we've done a recent project, which I wanted to get Miguel to read a review one of my papers on freight recently that I just finished, but we are expanding to cover freight, thinking about autonomous freight and how that intersects with workforce challenges as well as, you know, a number of other challenges, technical and otherwise. We're also looking into partial automation. This is a new area for us, looking at how, you know, folks are using partially automated vehicles. EV Center has led some research that demonstrates that more travel happens when people have partial automation, but we also are looking into the safety side where there's misuse and disuse issues and issues what we call automation complacency, where, you know, people use, you know, service, they're too trusting. So we're looking into that topic too. So on the technical side, we do some, Junshen leads some really interesting research into AI foundations. This is about how to make AI systems more efficient, basically improving deep learning algorithms. They have a number of different projects that really go very deep on this. So if you have this interest in learning about AI systems, I would say, well, Junshen is, you know, an expert in, you know, deep reinforcement learning, what he calls. He also can speak, you know, he teaches an undergrad level course, so he can really explain it to you as well. So if you're just curious about it, I'm sure he'd be willing to, if you're to help you learn about what is deep reinforcement learning and why is it so important that we get these systems, the foundations of AI right, in order to make sure that AI and automated vehicle systems are safe. And so they're also looking at highway traffic. This is about connectivity and, you know, using the both infrastructure and you know, other types of connected vehicle techniques to advance safety and improve traffic flow. Let's see, and so I was mentioning this driver simulator that's located across the street where they do some of this testing. They use this model that was developed by the US DOT called Carla, which is it's a way to test different simulated autonomous vehicle systems on a platform. So it's a map. It has maps of all over. I think there's a map of Davis. There's a map of many cities in the world, and they can actually test how their different types of systems would perform in different circumstances. So it's really interesting that that work. Okay, yeah, that's all I got. This is us, and we're doing some work on automation. I would say that I'll just mention at the very end that our work also, I didn't include it here, also overlaps with some of the work that's being done out of what we're sort of calling a lab of Caroline's work. Caroline Rodier leads work that is studying payment integration for transit, public transit. We were doing lots of work with them. We were part of this 3-year-long project we've been doing with LA Metro and LA DOT to study payment integration, how we can innovate transit to be more multimodal, to provide people, especially people with low incomes, opportunities to get access to all modes, and even autonomous vehicles are involved in the mobility wallet in LA. So it's really cool work that's happening down there too that we have some partnerships with. All right, so that's us. Thank you very much. Any questions? I know we're pressed for time here, so. But I would love to answer any questions, and I put my contact info, so if you have any questions for me or just want to reach out and say, I really am interested in what deep reinforcement learning is. I really do want someone to tell me about it. I'm just kidding, but I mean, anything you want to ask me, we're game. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? My name is Aditya. I lead what's now called the Global South Center. We're about 3 years old at ITS. Lou already talked a little bit about our international work. I didn't really prepare this as an academic presentation or projects, but anyway, it's more to give you a flavor of what we do. We focus on 4 areas of work in terms of our research. Actually, let me take a step back. The Global South Center, our aim mostly is we focus on supporting clean transportation transitions in developing countries and emerging economies. So we have a growing portfolio of work across all. Our most recent footprint was in Africa, actually just earlier this week, where ITS has been formally nominated as the lead to drive a major California-Kenya clean transportation initiative. But that's just an example of some of the things we're doing. But a lot of work that we do in emerging economies is not just about how to drive transitions there, but a lot of this also has implications in how other countries evolve, trade issues, and so on and so forth. So we do a lot of work on how a lot of that plays out, whether it's US collaboration or EU or any of that stuff. So, but 4 key areas of work. One, of course, most primarily around driving vehicle electrification across two-wheelers, light-duty and heavy-duty trucks and buses. We do a lot of work on critical minerals and supply chains. Lou mentioned that. We look at what does electrification mean in terms of battery demand, different technologies, chemistries, what that means in terms of supply chains, resiliency, et cetera. And that includes a lot of our trade-related work. We've been doing a lot of work over the last 1.5 years on financing. So just to clarify, we look at how governments, when they spend money on driving or supporting incentives for clean transportation, what is the impact of the money they spend? How can they better design public incentive programs to create the market transformation that they're looking at? And then the fourth piece is really around, while we talk about electrification, a lot of the developing countries, affordability is still a challenge. Electrification is not one of the most easiest things to do, depending on the vehicle type we're talking about. And so fuels will still remain a pretty strong piece of what happens in the transportation space. And so along with Lou's team, we do a lot of work on fuels and hydrogen and how some of that is evolving in other markets. I would say, think about the Global South program. We have our own researchers and staff who do work and have domain expertise in these markets, but we also work very closely with multiple other centers. We work with Molly, and she's leading a lot of work for us actually on vehicle automation in Southeast Asia, is that right? Yes. And then we're doing work with Lou on fuels, but also with the European Center on how Europe and the Global South are interacting when it comes to some of these issues. And so some of our work is also about how we position ourselves as a gateway for other ITS centers to be able to collaborate and expand the impact of the work they're doing. Most of our research work, I would say, is built around 3 important pillars. The first and foremost is policy certainty, right? So you need policy certainty to achieve the market transformation you want, or whatever you're trying to do in the clean transportation space, the outcome you're trying to achieve. So we work with country governments, both national and subnational, as well as industry partners in different emerging markets, providing a lot of technical assistance and policy design, and doing a lot of that research work. The second one is actually technology appropriation. Just because we say, oh, EVs, or the way technology is deployed in a particular country context is very important. It needs to be appropriated. You can't just lift it and drop it somewhere else. So we do a lot of work linked to how do you appropriate technology developments and make it useful for the markets in which we look at. And both of those together link up to saying, okay, if we have policy certainty and the right kind of technology choices, how are we then able to design financing programs to actually deploy these technologies on the ground, make them affordable, and create scale? And then one very important piece is implementation. One of the biggest gaps of policy is not the design and having it on paper, but it's actually supporting the implementation and the governance around actually ensuring that these policies are enforced in the right manner. And so we also help in some of our recent work, help country governments and regulators also design enforcement mechanisms and how they're supposed to do some of that compliance. Just to give you a flavor of everything we're involved in, on this side is a lot of the research work we do, everything from critical minerals to fuel efficiency regulation design in different markets to also supporting cross-country work. So one of our most recent was, and you might have seen, there is a lot of ongoing trade issues with the US. So we were asked to write a memo for the US-India blueprint on how they would need to look at their energy and automotive trade issues, et cetera. So that's just another example of how some of our work has policy impact. But on the other side, we've been part of many, both founded and been part of many coalitions and platforms where a lot of the work we do at ITS, both within ours and across our other centers, is taken to policymakers and other stakeholders to drive that level of impact. Two most exciting things that are happening right now is, as I mentioned, we just signed the California-Kenya partnership. It's the California, actually, just so you know, signs a lot of agreements with many countries. It's the first in Africa ever, and ITS is leading a lot of that. The second most interesting one is actually something that we've never done before, is we're working currently with the government of Mexico to actually build an urban EV for first and last mile passenger mobility and cargo mobility. And so my other deputy director for my program, Francisco Perez, who's not here today, he and I have been leading some of that work with some of our other colleagues, where we're actually, we just finished designing the vehicle and we'll be actually moving into a prototype for that vehicle in the next few months and helping create some of that. So that's just another aspect of what we're doing. I'll stop there, but this hopefully gives you a flavor of everything we do, and happy to chat. I'm in the next building. Please feel free to reach out to me. Yeah.
So for actual on the ground things like designing an EV from scratch, are you working with manufacturers in the country you're trying to send it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in Mexico's case, we're actually helping set up the OEM for them and working with different suppliers on motors, on vehicle body, and all of that.
Nice.
And I do want to shout out that, was it last night that Governor Newsom signed that, or the night
Yeah.
before?
Last.
It was basically last night that the governor signed that agreement with Kenya. It's pretty cool. And the Kenyan president that day. So it's pretty big news.
Where did you do your PhD?
I'm an alum of TTP. I came here as a student in 2021 January. I graduated last year in March 2024. As a TTP student, this room has some of my faculty and advisors who I'm very grateful for. And
So he did it in what, 2.5 years?
3 years.
3 years. So it can be done.
No, don't. It's not. But one of my most exciting things is that as I was a student, I got the opportunity to work with leadership here to help create this program, which is what I lead now. So yeah, so also feel free to use me as a resource because I'm a recent graduate. I can also happy to help you think through as a student how you take advantage of ITS and help you achieve the goals and ambitions that you come here for.
But we don't promise that if you finish your PhD here, you automatically get to run a center. It's unusual.
I know how I got to be the default, but I'm sure.
You're right next to it, I suppose.
Excellent job. All right, well, this is not the alumni show, but my name is Amy Lee, and I'm also an alumni. I'm a postdoctoral scholar. I'm now at ITS at Davis as of a couple months ago. But I'm here to talk about the lab that several of us are involved with. And I did my PhD work in this, what is now known, the lab that is now known as the VMT Land Use and Equity Lab. Because we're in transportation, we're required by statute to have a charming acronym, so we're the Value Lab. Tough crowd.
I thought.
I didn't.
It's the end of the hour, or an hour and a half. So what do we study broadly? Broadly, it's travel behavior, land use patterns, and the people that navigate through those spaces that we create by way of policy and decisions. We essentially are kind of grappling with this concept of vehicles and cars providing an unparalleled level of mobility and access to opportunity in this world, as Gil told us, but also have a whole slew of negative effects on the environment, on personal finances, on public health, on social impacts. And so we work on efforts to contribute to efforts essentially to reduce car dependence is how we think about it, through research on the policy process, policy implementation. We do equity analyses, analysis of VMT reduction, policy and strategies, tools and modeling, so travel behavior modeling, a lot of our work is evaluation of modeling practices and of kind of sketch tools. Our research looks at the housing and transportation connection, rural mobility. I'm leaving lots of things out, but this is a general flavor. Some of the projects that we're working on these days, there are many more than I think any of us could possibly remember offhand, but we're looking at things like evaluation of environmental review processes and how environmental review captures or sometimes fails to capture, say, induced travel from highway expansion projects. We're looking at processes and tools created by the California Air Resources Board to look at VMT forecasting, target setting, VMT mitigation, and many others. Some of the work that we're doing right now is actually sort of like almost a consulting role for the California State Transportation Agency. It's something I'm working on is the Sustainable Communities Task Force, and really providing the academic kind of chops, firepower to help coordinate a big group of stakeholders through a agenda setting process, maybe. We'll see what that turns out to be. So how I kind of think of this, a lot of us who are in this is kind of where the P and TTP really comes in as a way that I think about it. And also a lot of us have a background in planning and policy. So Jesus is part of our lab, we'll talk about that in a second. Kind of any of you who are thinking about maybe this program or a planning program focusing on transportation, this is where a lot of us all landed as our academic home was in this lab. My background, I was at the School of Public Affairs just prior to this, so we really grapple with kind of public administration, policy, planning topics in transportation. Who are we? So this was the kind of faculty directors of this lab are Professor Jesus Barajas and Susan Handy. And then there are several professional researchers, postdoctoral scholars, and many, many excellent grad students. Casey, I see in the room, and there are many others. Claire, I think, is back there. Any omission is not intentional. I just can't see everyone here. If you are, we have like some projects going that are perhaps looking for graduate research assistants. I know Jamie Volker runs a lot of projects. He might have something. But as you're interested in topics like this, do please reach out. We have a weekly lab meeting. Date and time is in the process. The doodle poll's open right now. But please reach out to one of us, Jamie or myself or Jesus, and we can get you on the listserv if you're interested in joining those weekly meetings. It's kind of a way to talk about what we're working on, air it out for ideas with colleagues. Any questions? Anything I missed?
So do you do any collaboration with groups outside of ITS, like ITE or other ones with connections to transportation? Or is this more like just consulting for the state government at this point?
Well, the projects that we do, it's a little bit different than a lot of the other centers where it's a center that's focused on a particular topic. We kind of have our own kind of areas that we work in. So I do a lot of equity work. One of my partners right now is the Center for Neighborhood Technology, which is a nonprofit based out of Chicago that does housing and transportation costs. So we do a lot of collaborations kind of across the space.
Yeah, and like when the National Center for Sustainable Transportation is up and running again, there are other campuses going up that have different centers, and we would have semi-regular meetings with our colleagues at University of Vermont, for example, in the Transportation Research Center there, Georgia Tech, other outside organizations, kind of like as they come up. Also, you'll see a lot of folks here who you've already seen on various slides. So we have collaborations both internal with other centers here, and then as we have collaborative relationships with other researchers around the country, really. Great. Thanks, good to meet you all. I hope you have a great day.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire McGinnis. I'm a PhD student in the TTP program. WTS is not a research center, it's a professional organization, but we have a student chapter here at UC Davis. But thanks for hanging in there, but I'm gonna do a quick trivia question, and whoever gets closest to the answer, I'll give a personal alarm called a birdie. So if you ever feel like nervous, someone's approaching you, just pull it, it makes a really loud noise. So what percentage of the transportation workforce, and no looking it up either, what percentage of the transportation workforce in the US do you think is women?
Transportation.
Yeah, like the transportation industry, all jobs. Sure, I think I saw your hand first there.
It feels like less than like 14% or 17%, something like that.
You're close, okay, I have a few more people.
I was gonna guess around 10 to 15% myself.
Pick one percentage.
12 and a half.
Okay, any others? Yeah,
I'll say
8,
7.
okay,
This is an account gap,
Yeah,
count
so-
down, guys.
how much?
14.
Okay.
It also
What did
depends a
you
bit
say,
on how you
Paulina?
define workforce.
I said 14, that's because I had read it somewhere.
Okay. We'll go with, okay, sorry, sound bad, but Paulina, go with you, it's about 15%. So
And Claire, what
see me
does that
after.
include? Does that include like people who are
Everything.
fixing highways?
Yeah, everything,
Okay.
drivers, like truck drivers, engineers, planners.
Well, because if you only looked at planners and let's say professionals, it's probably a lot higher, right?
What's
They're
it?
not the only ones who
Well,
Yeah,
no,
not-
but it's like, let's not give the idea that there's not opportunity, right?
Well, it's not 50%, so clearly
Okay.
something fun's going on.
We'll move on. The point is that it's low. And I worked for 8 years before coming back to grad school in civil engineering, and I can tell you more about my experience if you ever want to hear it, but I was definitely not in the majority of people working in civil engineering. So when I was working is when I got involved with the professional chapter of WTS in my hometown, but I was happy to see we had a student chapter here. So it's an organization dedicated to attracting more women into the transportation workforce and also advancing women's careers. And the student chapter, we host guest speakers, some workshops, some just community building events like fall picnics. And everybody's welcome. You don't have to be a woman to join us. So it's a good community. These are pictures from some of our events in the past year. So we had the former High Speed Rail CEO Brian Kelly come here, and we had a lot of folks from our transit lab join for that presentation. So that was a great presentation, an exciting one. And then each year we've done a bike repair workshop in the spring quarter. And then we usually do like a fall picnic, but this year we're planning for more of like a dinner and a like spooky themed fun event. So stay tuned for that. Our officers are myself as the president this year, Maha's our vice president, Carolina is our treasurer, secretary is Eilish, and then our communications chair is Bailey. And they all happen to be TTP students as well, but that's not a requirement for getting more involved. If you want to receive our emails, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you to a form, and you can put your email in and that will ensure that you get our emails. But we also highly encourage that you join for free the international WTS. It's free for students. The WTS Sacramento scholarships are live right now. You do have to be a woman studying transportation to apply for the scholarships, but again, anyone can join us. We're open to anyone. If you have any questions about WTS, you can ask me. And then in our last 2 minutes, Bailey will come up and will tell you more separate from WTS, but about the Principals of Community Committee here at ITS. We don't have slides for that.
I don't have slides.
Okay,
Maybe give
sure.
you guys a next a chance to bring the other way.
So yeah, so I'm one of the comms people on both WTS and the ITS Principles of Community Committee, and Claire is the other comms person. We just want to let you know about this. It's an internal ITS committee that aims to promote an inclusive, equitable, and diverse working environment that is welcoming to all, and where all differences are respected and collaboration is encouraged. So our members are a combination of faculty, staff, and students. So we have a couple events coming up. You might have seen an email talking about the global potluck that is being mostly hosted by our events coordinator, Sampath. So that will give you an opportunity of this Wednesday at 12 in this room to come and bring a dish from your culture, and we'll kind of share out with each other about different diverse transportation experiences that we all have based on where we're from. And then also some other upcoming things that are important for you to know and to have on your calendar. There's going to be a listening session with our new ITS director, Alyssa Kendall, on October 27th. So save the date for that. And then just for everyone to know, we have a monthly committee meeting, and that usually is open to all of you guys to come in and listen and kind of hear what we're talking about. Often we provide some training. Susie and Carolina, they are training specialists, so they kind of will put together different workshops and things based on kind of like monthly themes. Like we've gone through LGBTQ awareness and disability awareness, and kind of like gender differences in the workplace as well. So it's kind of a place to sort of learn all together and share our experiences that we've had based on these themes. And then finally, we are actually starting our outreach for recruitment for the next year's committee. So keep your eyes peeled for an email with that. It's just going to be a Google form you can fill out, and you can kind of put your preference for which position you would want on the committee. And even if you are not selected for the committee, we really do encourage like non-board members who participate pretty regularly anyway. So we really want to get involvement up and get a lot of feedback from you guys. So keep your eyes peeled for all of those announcements. They come through the regular email. So thank you for your time.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.